What if the real you isn't the one in the mirror? Let me ask you a question most people are too proud to answer honestly. What if the reason nothing's working is because your mind is not ready to receive the truth? Not because you're not intelligent, not because you lack motivation, but because deep down you're still loyal to old programming. You've been collecting knowledge, reading books, watching videos, quoting great men, but transformation still hasn't arrived. Why? Because Napoleon Hill warned us, before you can use any part of this philosophy with success, your mind must be prepared to receive it. And that preparation is not passive. It's not automatic. It doesn't come from hearing powerful ideas. It comes from inner confrontation, from dissolving the lies you inherited, from breaking the identity that keeps rejecting what could save you. Truth is not something you get. Truth is something you become ready for. And today we're going to do what most never will. Prepare the mind before it begs for more knowledge, because once you're ready, the rest will finally work. There is a reason the most powerful truths in history fall flat in the minds of most people. It's not because the truths are weak, it's because the minds receiving them are unprepared. And Napoleon Hill, long before the modern world flooded itself with self-help noise, understood this principle clearly. Before you can use any part of this philosophy with success, your mind must be prepared to receive it. That preparation is the part no one talks about, because it doesn't feel exciting. It doesn't sell tickets. It doesn't feed the ego. But it is everything. Let me explain why. Every day people consume wisdom. They quote it. They share it. They underline it. But when you look at their lives, nothing changes. Why? Because knowledge is like a seed, and the mind is the soil. A seed in dead soil doesn't grow, even if it comes from the most powerful tree. So if your internal world is polluted with fear, hardened by pride, weakened by distraction, then even the most revolutionary truths will bounce off like water on stone. You cannot download new software while the old virus is still running. If your mind is loaded with shame, regret, and resentment, there's no room for higher instruction. You don't need more information, you need clearing. Some minds think they already know everything. They nod but never absorb. They listen but never surrender. These people don't receive truth, they evaluate it. And truth doesn't flow into minds that put it on trial. You cannot hold on to your current self and expect to evolve. Most people reject truth not because it's untrue, but because it threatens their identity. A man who sees himself as a victim cannot accept the truth of full responsibility. A woman who has built her worth on appearance cannot receive the truth of inner authority. The ego fights truth, not with words, but with deflection. And this is why the preparation must come before the instruction. Have you ever met someone who reads 20 books a year but changes nothing, attends every seminar but still sabotages themselves, quotes all the right people but lives in quiet despair? This is the trap of the false start. They believe they're making progress, but they're just rearranging the furniture in a house full of termites. They've skipped the most important part. Preparing the structure before decorating it. It is not glamorous. It is not performative. It will not be validated on social media. But it is the single most important stage in transformation. It begins with emptiness, creating space for truth by letting go of noise. Honesty, facing the stories you've built that are no longer true. Surrender, choosing to be led instead of always trying to lead. It means saying, I don't know, but I want to learn. I've failed, but I want to grow. I've been blind, but I want to see. And truth, like a patient teacher, waits until that moment. Then it speaks. We think strength is never admitting weakness. We think wisdom is always having the answer. We think growth means forward motion. But Hill knew something deeper. Growth begins with internal stillness, with humility, with unlearning. The man who says, I already know this, has just proven he does not. But the one who sits down, silences his ego, and opens his notebook like it's the first day of school, that man becomes unstoppable, because his soil is ready, and any seed dropped in it will grow. Here's the daily discipline. Silence first, always. Before you scroll, before you speak, sit in stillness. Let your mind settle. Let the noise drain out. Question every belief that feels automatic. If it came from society, from school, from trauma, challenge it. Ask, who told me this, and is it still true? Say this out loud. I am willing to let go of the identity that blocks my transformation. Say it, even if you don't believe it yet. Choose absorption over analysis. Don't just think about truth. Let it enter you. Let it disrupt you. Let it rebuild you. Revisit the same lessons until they change you. You don't need new ideas. You need to be new enough to finally receive the old ones. There is a man who reads the words of Napoleon Hill, and nothing happens. And there is another, same book, same words, who reads, and his entire life changes. The difference is not the material, not the motivation. The difference was preparation. You are not here to be informed. You are here to be transformed. And transformation only begins when you decide to clear the soil, soften the pride, and open the door. Because once your mind is truly ready, this philosophy will meet you, and it will not leave you the same. There's a quiet miracle that occurs when the mind is finally prepared to receive. Truth no longer sounds like information. It sounds like confirmation. It no longer feels foreign. It feels familiar, like a voice you've heard before but had forgotten how to listen to. And when it enters, it doesn't just inspire you, it rewires you. Prepared minds experience truth differently. It's not a new concept, it's a remembered essence, like something you knew as a child before you were taught to forget. It doesn't need proof. It doesn't need validation. It lands, it roots, it activates. And suddenly the truths you read in books start appearing in your decisions, your words, your posture. Not because you're trying, but because your mind is finally clear enough to allow them through. Unprepared minds need motivation. Prepared minds move from alignment. You no longer need external fuel to act, because the inner flame has been lit. You begin saying no to distractions, saying yes to discipline, walking away from things that once had power over you. And it doesn't feel forced. It feels like clarity finally having its way. That's the difference. Prepared minds don't fight for momentum. They flow in it. Truth isn't always pleasant, but when the mind is prepared, it doesn't flinch. You begin welcoming hard truths. Yes, I've been lazy. Yes, I was blaming others. Yes, I avoided responsibility. Not to punish yourself, but to reclaim power. Because every uncomfortable truth you embrace becomes a chain removed from your potential. You're no longer scared of seeing yourself fully. You want to, because the prepared mind sees honesty as liberation. Before, you read the same ideas again and again and forgot them the next morning. Now, one sentence changes your year. One insight reprograms a habit. One realization dismantles years of doubt. Because the mind is no longer a colander leaking wisdom. It's a vessel, holding, storing, and activating it. The prepared mind doesn't need 100 strategies. It needs permission. Permission to rise, to simplify, to return to what it always knew was right. Suddenly you begin waking up earlier, practicing silence, avoiding gossip, honoring time, not because you have to, but because something inside you says, "This is who I am now." That is the fruit of preparation. A discipline that doesn't need to be pushed because it's pulled by purpose. The unprepared mind is always chasing teachers, always asking, "What should I do next?" But now, you sit in silence and the answer comes, not because you've become a genius, but because you've removed the interference. The wisdom was always there. The inner voice always spoke. You just couldn't hear it above your mental static. Now, the noise is gone. And what remains is direction. When the mind is unclear, every opportunity feels like confusion. But when the mind is ready, you know. You know when to say yes. You know when to walk away. You know when something is meant for you, even if it scares you. This doesn't make life easy, but it makes life accurate. You stop asking 10 people what they think. You check within, and the answer is already waiting. That's not arrogance, that's alignment, and it only comes after preparation. Before preparation, you see through the lens of scarcity, of fear, of self-doubt. After, you see through the eyes of potential, through the frequency of solutions, through the vibration of purpose. You begin noticing what others don't. Patterns in behavior, openings for growth, energy in conversations. The world didn't change, you did, and now the world responds accordingly. And then something strange happens. You begin speaking truths you didn't even realize you had learned. You become a vessel of wisdom. You speak, and people pause. Because the energy behind your words isn't memory, it's embodiment. You didn't just read the book, you became the message. And the prepared mind always leads to this. Not just personal transformation, but silent transmission. Others feel it. They don't know why. They just know they want what you found. And what you found is not another method, not another secret, but a mind finally ready to hold truth, and that changes everything. By now you've understood. The mind that is unprepared resists truth. The mind that is prepared radiates it. But this preparation is not a one-time act, it is a ritual. Just like the body must be trained daily to grow strong, the mind must be refined daily to remain receptive. Let me show you how. Not with theory, but with a practice. Because the most powerful minds in history weren't born different. They became different by preparing themselves every single day. The world rushes into noise. But clarity is never found in chaos. The first act of a prepared mind is to clear the channel. Sit, no phone, no music, no stimulation, just you and attention. In that silence, begin to command your mind. Today I make space for the truth. Today I lead myself first. Even 5 minutes is enough. Not to empty the mind, but to reset it. This is how leaders start their day. This is how thinkers hear their own thoughts. This is how receptivity is restored. Every day the ego tries to sneak in. I already know this. I've tried this before. That won't work for me. These are not truths. They are defenses. Each morning write this question. What belief am I carrying today that may not be true? Don't judge it, don't fix it, just expose it. This is how you prepare the mind for new wiring. Not by force, but by revealing the blocks. Because ego loses power in the light, and truth moves in when there's room. Powerful minds are anchored. They don't drift. Every day, write down, what do I serve today? It could be discipline. It could be truth. It could be clarity. God. Service. Why? Because a prepared mind must remember its allegiance. The world will try to seduce you, but when you begin your day with spiritual and mental loyalty, you become unmoved. This anchors you. This shields your frequency. You become what you absorb. So if the first thing you consume is distraction, ego, noise, your day is already hijacked. Curate your inputs. 1 paragraph from a truth-based book, 1 line of scripture or philosophy, 1 minute of audio from a voice that builds you. Don't just consume. Pause, absorb, integrate. Even 1 drop of truth in a still mind creates ripples that last the whole day. That's not inspiration. That's reprogramming. Most people begin their day in reaction. Prepared minds begin with intention. Ask, what 1 action today would express the person I am becoming? Then do it first, before distractions, before excuses, before negotiation. This is how truth becomes tangible, because prepared minds do not chase results. They honor alignment, and the world follows alignment, always. Preparation is not just a morning discipline, it is a life rhythm. At the end of the day, sit with yourself. Ask, where did I act from truth? Where did I shrink? What will I carry into tomorrow? Write it. Pray it. Speak it out loud. This is how you build momentum. This is how the prepared mind becomes the permanent mind. Want to accelerate your preparation? Cut out the following for 72 hours. Gossip, mindless scrolling, entertainment designed to distract, negative self-talk. What happens next will shock you. You'll start hearing yourself again. Your intuition will sharpen. Your vision will return. Because preparation is often not about adding more. It's about removing interference. When the noise goes down, the truth rises up. The truth is not rare. The readiness for it is. Napoleon Hill didn't say success would come from what you know. He said your mind must be prepared to receive it. So every day, prepare. Every day, clear the soil. Every day, remind the mind who it belongs to. Because the moment your inner world becomes still, clean, and receptive, truth begins to move through you. And when truth moves through you, there's nothing you can't create. There is a moment, subtle but unmistakable, when you realize, I am no longer just consuming truth. I am living it. It doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't come with fireworks. It feels quiet, certain, anchored. And it's in that silence that the prepared self returns, not the old self, not the reactive self, but the version of you that has always known the way. The one that was buried beneath noise, the one that waited behind the mirror, the one that whispers, not shouts, and finally you hear it. The unprepared self is always starving for truth. It reads book after book, seeks teacher after teacher, wanders from one philosophy to another, but never settles. But the prepared self, he stops chasing, because he's no longer looking for something to add. He's looking to finally live. You don't need more answers. You need more alignment. And now, that alignment has begun. You feel it when you speak slowly, but with certainty. Choose discipline without force. Notice thoughts before reacting. Walk into a room and no longer shrink. You haven't changed the world. You've changed how you meet it. And that changes everything. Before, you tried to memorize wisdom. Now it simply moves through you. You no longer need to force insight. It arrives in the middle of a conversation, in the silence of a walk, in the stillness before sleep. Not because you're smart, but because you're now a channel. The soil is ready. The roots are growing. The fruit will appear in time, and it won't need validation. Because you'll know, I'm becoming what I once only studied. And that is the moment the prepared self is born. You begin to notice. Your anger is slower. Your fear is quieter. Your clarity is faster. You've trained your inner world not to react, but to respond. This is the hallmark of readiness. You no longer serve your emotions, they serve you. And when the world pushes against you, as it always does, you meet it like a mountain, not a matchstick. That's the return of the prepared self. Still, certain, grounded. One of the greatest shifts in the prepared mind is this. You no longer need evidence before taking action. You no longer demand guarantees before you move. You begin to trust the invisible rhythm of truth. You feel when to speak. You sense when to wait. You know when something is real before anyone else sees it. This is not delusion. It's alignment with the subtle currents of life that most people never perceive. Because the prepared self doesn't live from logic alone. He lives from a higher intelligence, one that only speaks once the noise is gone. You don't brag. You don't posture. But people start to notice. Your words carry weight. Your presence calms the room. Your discipline is unshakable. You've become the person you once admired from afar. Not because you fought to be him, but because you cleared the way. That's the irony. Preparedness is not about becoming more. It's about removing what isn't you. The fear, the conditioning, the borrowed beliefs. When they fall away, what remains is real. And the real you doesn't need applause. He needs only purpose. It was never about waiting for the right book or meeting the right mentor. The message was always around you, but the mind wasn't ready to hold it. Now it is. And in that readiness, you see what Hill meant when he said, before you can use any part of this philosophy with success, your mind must be prepared to receive it. You've prepared, you've received, and now you walk differently, because truth didn't just visit, it took up residence. And your life, from this point forward, will reflect the only thing that truly creates success, a mind that is ready, and a soul that says yes. If you made it this far, it means something inside you is shifting. You're no longer the seeker who scrolls endlessly. You're becoming the one who receives, integrates, and acts. But this is only the beginning. Because now that your mind is ready, you must surround it with truth, consistency, and power. And that's what we do here. So if this message reached you, if it awakened something you forgot you had, subscribe to this channel, turn on the notifications, and keep walking this path with us. Every video is a seed. Every idea, a mirror. Every lesson, a preparation for your next breakthrough. You're no longer here to collect words. You're here to become the kind of person who no longer needs to be convinced. Welcome to the minority. Welcome to the preparation that changes everything.